Welcome, Warlords, to Saga Thursday, your regular source for that hot weekly Saga action. I'm here with the furious Nick Fenske here. How's it going, man?
Going great. Thanks for having me on, Rodge.
Yeah, so we chatted a little bit about the Nafatun close to a year ago, actually, by the timeline of things. So we are having you back to talk about the Mutatawwi'a. We just decided that is probably the best pronunciation. Is that right?
I think so. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into what we were talking about before, but yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of bewildering just to look at it, but after playing plenty of games of Saga, and then also Mutatawwi'a are troop types in Infinity as well. So we're getting that double exposure there.
Yep, little Arab theme, Arab immersion.
To the language. So, okay, cool. Well, we are going to check these guys out through the battle board here. This will be the second Arab faction we're taking a look at in the Crescent and Cross. Still got the Saracens to go, but these guys they seem pretty popular. I've seen folks, more than a couple folks playing them from time to time, and I kind of have a general idea, but I've never played against them. So I think you've played in a couple events, maybe at Adepticon with these guys, or Saga Storm as well?
Yeah, a couple of years ago I've ran them. I've been doing some of the Viking factions as of recent, but this was my first and still one of my favorite warbands.
Cool. Yeah, I think they're definitely interesting there. Very different from pretty much any other faction with the sacrifice mechanic. But so the Mutatawwi'a, these are kind of the super religious sect of the Arabic regions. Is that what you would say? Do you know?
Yeah, fanatics, if you will.
Fanatics. Okay, me liking that term there. So they have a sacrifice mechanic. So why don't we just get into that right off the bat here? So can you explain that to us, how that works?
Yeah, well, on their battle board, on their battle board, they'll have a little symbol by some of the Saga abilities that will indicate that a sacrifice is necessary. So that means you got to take a dude out of your warband as a casualty.
He's done.
Yep, he's out of here. Out.
Okay.
The tricky thing with this mechanic is that those sacrifice models do count for slaughtering points. So it's not just a free-for-all. There's also a bit of a penalty on there because that slaughter point tally is still ticking for the opponent as you're sacrificing your own models.
Okay, that's kind of rough. So it's not just like a null, you can't kill this guy and I can't use him anymore. It's you count as having killed this guy, but hopefully whatever ability I'm using will be enough to offset that little tax there. Okay, that seems pretty cool. So does it work with Levy, or is it only warriors? Is it just warriors and Hearthguard for this warband?
Yes, Mutatawwi'a can only take Hearthguard and warriors.
Okay.
They're not allowed to take Levy.
Well, let's get into those options then. So it looks like the Warlord, and pretty much everybody's got some pretty decent options. So you can get your fella on a camel there, get him on a horse, on foot. Do you use some camel guys?
Yeah, I will a lot of times take one unit of Hearthguard on camels.
Yeah, that seems pretty awesome. I think I would definitely, whatever faction I use as the Arabics go, I think I definitely want some camels. They're badass. Say with the Hearthguard, they can be on a camel as well with the horse or on foot. And then the warriors can be on foot or with bows. But so those guys aren't mounted, but everybody else can be. So, yeah.
And it's important to note, too, I think, I don't know if this is true of other factions, but when you give the warriors bows, their armor goes down to 3.
Correct. Yeah, most factions are like that. Looking at this in the chart, that is the case. Interesting that I'm just looking at the difference between the horses and the camels. So if you're on a camel, it looks like their armor goes down by 1 as well in melee.
Yep.
And then the benefit of the camel is that they don't suffer fatigue for moving into rough terrain. Is that right?
Yes, camels have a couple things. They still can only move S into uneven ground, but if they do, they don't get that fatigue. Mm-hmm. And their other super cool rule is when they're engaged in a melee with horses or horse-mounted troops, those troops generate half their attack dice against camels.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. That makes up for being a smidge easier to hit. So if you can direct these camel guys against the enemy horsemen, you're sitting pretty good. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, evidently horses are afraid of camels and create a crazy situation.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. Okay, let's go along the top of the battle board. How about that? We're getting into some juice here. So I'm looking at, we got the standard Hearthguard Warlord activation. We've got the Warrior activation. We've got the Martyr pool. So it looks like this is a little storage area for your Martyr tokens. Is that what that is?
Yes, sir. You're going to want to keep a tally of sacrificed models because we can use those later.
Okay. So generally, you get these Martyr tokens, and you can kind of burn them, and then they're gone? Or is it like you want to build up like a big pile of them? Or is it both of those?
I don't know that you need a big pile of them. We'll see when we get over to combat pool what they're really used for, or as we get a little further toward the end of the top of this battle board, I'll explain how we use them.
Okay, cool. Do you want to get into a la Akbar, the melee reaction ability there? Looks like quite a bit of verbiage there.
Yeah, lots and lots of words. You're essentially bringing guys back. I don't know if it's necessarily from the dead, but you're adding models to a unit. This is a melee reaction.
Oh, wow.
It specifies that it can only be used on a unit of at least 3 models. So it has to be a pretty depleted unit. Or there has to be at least 3. Then you discard 2 of the Martyr tokens to add 1 figure to this unit. Mm-hmm. So you can spend 2 of your Martyr tokens, which would be the equivalent of 2 sacrifice models, to bring a guy back.
Oh, wow.
And it takes 4 Martyr tokens to bring back a fanatic, which in this case is the Hearthguard.
The Hearthguards, they call them fanatics. Okay. Small plays enemy model. Wow.
Yeah, and that costs a rare.
That's pretty cool.
That's a rare die, but you get to bring guys back.
Mm-hmm. We have to discard Martyr tokens to do it. So I guess as we get down there, we'll kind of see how valuable those tokens are. Do you end up using this one a lot?
It's not super common for me to dig into this. I think it's a cool thing. It probably has some really deep strategic ramifications that I don't know about yet. But I like to use my tokens in the combat pool, which is next.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, just looking at the face of it, 2 Martyr tokens seems like you're going to have to kill 2 guys, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the only way. You sacrifice 1 guy, you get 1 Martyr token, so it's a 1 per, so it's going to be 2 sacrificed guys and a rare die to bring a guy back.
1 guy back, yeah. So everything being even.
Seems kind of exhaustive.
Yeah.
But we'll check out. I mean, because as we get further into the battle board, there's places where you really got to scratch your head and think, is this worth sacrificing a guy?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. So the combat pool, I'm taking a look at that. It's melee only, so even though you can take some shooters, you won't be able to boost up your shooting pool. But it's gain attack dice, 2 if it's a rare, so that's pretty much normal. But each time you use this ability, you may discard 1 Martyr token to gain 1 extra attack die.
Ding, ding, ding.
A little something on top of that, so you could potentially get up to 3 attack dice off of a rare die and a Martyr token. So pretty decent. But I guess we'll have to get down to some of these abilities down here because that Martyr token was a guy, and he would generate an attack dice if he was in the combat alive too.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
There's certain something going on with that. So okay. All right. This is going to be fun. I can tell. So do you want to go down to that first activation there on the left? Is that a good spot to start, my man?
Yeah, that's a great spot to start with these guys. I think it's could be one of their trademark abilities. It's like Jin's.
Okay.
This costs, a rare or an uncommon, and it's a activation, and you activate a foot unit for movement. Now you can't use this on any type of mounted troop.
Okay.
But you activate it for for movement, and it now can move L instead of M.
Ooh, wow, that's
Or no,
big.
it would move M in uneven ground too. So it counts as moving L with all of the regular restrictions.
That's badass. So yeah, you got that big 12-inch L in the open, and then if you did have to move through some rough terrain, you get a little 2-inch boost there. On the bottom, I see it says if that unit does not end this move and engage in melee, it takes 1 fatigue.
That is correct.
So not necessarily something you want to use to get people up the field, but nice 12-inch charge for uncommon or rare dice. Looking pretty juicy there. And I think I remember from the Nafatoon video that you'd like to pair the Nafatoon with this ability. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly from a year ago?
Yeah, you can get your guys up there. As we get further into the battle board, these guys are pretty good at taking away fatigue from themselves. So you can use that big long movement of L to get within range of the bombs, and then you can throw your bombs.
Yeah.
And then essentially get rid of that fatigue too. So it's pretty
some
cool.
bombs. That's pretty good. Already, yeah, I can see definitely a threat of a strike, long-range strike. So obviously you could do just a normal move and then do like Jeans and pop in there, 18-inch charge for just 1 regular fatigue for doing the double activation.
Definitely cool.
Yeah, definitely reach out, touch someone. So that seems pretty badass. Moving down to distraction. This one is the first one using a Martyr token. That little bow guy there. So it looks like a common dice and a Martyr token. So this is an activation reaction ability. Use this ability when 1 enemy unit has been activated, but before this activation has been resolved, cancel that activation. Suck it. If the activated unit does not have any fatigue and a fanatic was sacrificed, it takes 1 fatigue. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so that's your pretty standard cancellation. It's worded as such that there are some cancellation abilities that cancel all, like for instance, if you were to do activate a warlord, and you would do a side by side, it would only cancel the warlord's activation, not the chain of activations that would follow. Or other battle board abilities that have multiple activations, it only cancels the initial one and not the whole thing.
Okay, that makes sense. And then if you wanted to sacrifice a Hearthguard for some reason, you could pop a fatigue on them. So, interesting. It's part of the SAGA ability. Okay, I'm just trying to think through all this. So, the way this would work is they're going to activate their unit. You're going to say, ha ha ha, I have distraction. So you're going to move your uncommon die off here, and then you're going to actually remove a model from your board at that time.
Yes.
From someone, one of your units somewhere.
Yep, and most of the abilities, again, as we get further down, you have to sacrifice a model from the unit that's getting that effect. But because this is an effect on your opponent, you can just remove any model from your warband.
Okay. And then, after you do that, you would place a Martyr token up on your Martyr pool in addition to? Okay, so that makes sense. So there's kind of some multiple martyring going on here. So you're actually pulling guys off, but then you're getting these tokens, which you can use for other stuff. So you can kind of ability itself, this distraction ability, and then you have a token that you can use for something else later. So, interesting. That makes sense now. Alrighty.
Yeah, I think as we get deeper into this board, you'll find that this is kind of a tricky faction to play. There's a lot of like kind of finding the sweet spot, and taking chances, being opportunistic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, my mind is kind of spinning right now, trying to follow all this. Because now I'm going back and reading, you got to kill a guy, but then Martyr tokens, everything. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep doing this.
Forward.
We got this. Okay. Looks like you got a good one here, Suicidal Charge. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah, this can be pretty good. It's a heavy cost. It costs 2 Saga dice and a sacrifice. It's going to be a common plus an uncommon plus you have to sacrifice a model, and it's very specific in how it's used. It can only be used on a unit that's engaged alone, an enemy unit in melee. So you can't do like a side by side with your warlord into it. It has to be a one-on-one fight.
Okay. Interesting.
And this is after step 4. That's after you do the amount of hits, or after you rolled your attack dice. Mm-hmm. You inflict to the enemy a number of extra automatic hits equal to half the hits you inflicted on that unit. Okay, so if you did 6 hits, then you would get an extra 3? An auto 3 hits. Auto 3? Yep. No dice roll involved? Yep, just an automatic 3 hits. It goes on further to say that if a fanatic is sacrificed, you get an equal amount of hits. So basically you double your whatever you hit, you double it. Yep, essentially doubling your hits. Now the caveat of this ability is it's a suicidal charge. You're all in. You inflict all these extra hits, throwing all your might into your attacks. The penalty is you don't get to roll defense dice. Oh no. Oh, okay. I'm liking where this is going. I like the boards where it's just death on both sides, kind of like the Strathclyde Welsh or the Norse Gales. I'm going to get a ton of extra attack dice, but you're going to wipe me out too. That's funny. Wow. Okay. It's interesting. So just the order on things here. So like if you go in with a unit of Hearthguard, the guy that you sacrificed, now he already generated his attack dice, right? Correct. At I think it's step 2 or step 1. Step 1. So his attack. So this is kind of like like with Valhalla and the Viking board. The attack dice are generated. If you think you're going to lose the unit regardless, go ahead and pop Valhalla for all those extra attack dice. So this is kind of similar, not quite the same, but so even just using a Hearthguard model. If you think they're going to die anyways, you could have like a little 4-pack going in there. I mean, what's kind of your strategy for this? Are there other abilities that'll keep the unit alive, or I mean, do you auto do this every time? No, this is really kind of a suicidal charge. Okay. This is kind of the deal. You throw the last of a unit into something, and again, Hearthguard are the best because they're going to generate more attack dice. There's a couple abilities here that this is included in one of them. There's another one further down the board that kind of make your units like little missiles. Okay. So interesting. That kind of makes
makes sense. Similar to Strathclyde and Norscales, like I mentioned, they kind of use smaller expendable units. So I'm already kind of picturing that. But okay, cool. I mean, yeah, kind of pricey for the 2 dice there. I guess you
it's
have
a little pricey, but I mean, imagine for a quick second, say you take a unit of like 3 Hearthguard mounted on camels and ram them into a unit of like 8 horse-mounted Hearthguard or a larger unit from an enemy. They're generating half their attack dice because you're on camels. You're getting 6 dice. You roll your dice, and then you're getting an equal however many hits you get. You know, the math's helping you out.
yeah, it really does come down to, it's going to be pretty dicey, because you're gonna, whatever you get, it's going to be double. You're rolling 6 dice. It could be going from 6 to 12, or from like 1 to 2. So I guess you kind of want to make sure you stack up your fatigue in your favor any way you can. One thing, I'm assuming you could just boost this up with the combat pool as well, if you want to go to town. Yep. So you'd be really making sure you get a good bang up for your buck if you're using that Martyr token. On top of that, 3 extra dice. So yeah, I think your little example there, the 3 Hearthguard go from 6 to 9 attacks with, say you're using a rare in the combat pool with a Martyr token, and then you could potentially double that to 18. But even just hitting on 4s or something, it's going to go from 5 to 10, basically 10 hits.
Yeah, that's good.
that's good. Anytime you can get just automatic hits in Saga, that's pretty good. This one's kind of conditional. You have to roll a dice to get the hit. But if you get those hits, definitely can't turn those down. So kind of get like 2 benefits for taking a guy off. I mean, so is this kind of, do you save this for like your kind of diminished units towards the end of the game mostly, or do you actually use this ability frequently? Or is there other stuff that you prefer?
This one takes a little back seat to another ability that only requires, that's a little further down the board, that's a little less dice intensive. It takes a rare, but it doesn't take 2 Saga dice.
Okay, that makes sense, but okay. Looks like a fun little ability there. So I want to pop up to the middle there with Prayer of Vigor. So this is a common, and we'll have to sacrifice a poor fellow. This is an activation ability. Remove 1 fatigue from each other friendly unit within medium of the unit that sacrificed the model. And you could remove 2 fatigues from each of these units if Fanatic was sacrificed. So, okay, it's going to cost you a common, and you have to lose a chap, but you could potentially, I don't know, have 2, 3, or even 4 units maybe nearby. I guess it's kind of situational, but the unit, it's okay. Is this one of those things where the unit itself counts as being within medium of itself?
No.
Or does it
clarify
that at some point?
Yep, it clarifies it in the actual rulebook, not on the battle board, that it's units within medium of it, but not the unit itself.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not like a rest. I mean, that would seem weird anyways, because you would use the die to rest and not sacrifice. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And then 2 fatigues for a Fanatic. That's pretty. If you had 3 units all fatigued up, you could pop 6 fatigues off your guys with common dice.
Just slam some energy drinks and get back in there.
Ooh, yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. Is this what you meant by being able to get fatigue off your guys?
Yep, that's one of them.
Okay.
That's one of them, and that works pretty good. I mean, that's, within, you just sacrifice the guy, and anything within M of that unit can take fatigue off, too, if it's a Fanatic that was sacrificed.
Yeah, so this is an activation ability, so the cool thing is you can have your other units do stuff, your turn, and, fight a couple combats, and then you can pop this, and then they're fresh, or you could combo it with a rest. But it's not limited like a rest where it has to be the first one. You could use this later If you had to do like a double move or something, and you're setting your guy up, you have that kind of flexibility with it. So
yeah, it's definitely nice that it's an activation ability.
That looks good. You want to go down to the Fatal Blow? Below that one there?
Fatal Blow. This is another one that requires the sacrifice. This one's not super common for me. I'd be interested if any of the viewers that end up watching this have any feedback on it. I don't use this one very often. But
okay.
It's a melee ability, and after your opponent's roll this defense dice, you can make him re-roll 3 of them. So you can make him re-roll 3 successful saves.
Okay.
And that number can change to 5 if you sacrifice a Fanatic or a Hearthguard model.
Okay. Interesting. So if somebody saved 3, that may, typically you're going to be saving on a 5. So basically, they're probably going to get one of those 3 back by rolling it again. Basically, you're going to kill a couple more guys.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those calculated risks that I'm not sure pays off.
Yeah, because you have to you're going to lose a guy for sure.
Yes.
So one thing is, if you were to like combo these, can you combo the Martyr abilities? So like Suicidal Charge and Fatal Blow, and like lose 2 guys.
Yes, absolutely.
There's nothing preventing that.
No, I mean, and those 2 are specifically, they're both melee, so they happen at the same step. So you can do them in any order you wish at that step.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for uncommon dice, I guess it's going to get you a couple extra wounds potentially, but they can still
cost you 1.
Yeah, it costs you a guy. I guess I could see. I mean, if you were going to do a Suicidal Charge, and you're charging like a 12-man Hearthguard unit or something, you know for sure that you were going to die, no matter what. I guess there wouldn't be any harm to popping these extra Martyr abilities. I mean, because you're going to lose those chumps anyways. So, but you still need the underlying Saga dice to power everything. So you still got to use your dice. But maybe if you know you're going to die, there isn't a big downside to the Martyr abilities. Okay. Yeah, I could see why you're not necessarily using that one too often. Okay. Do you want
it's just not super exciting for me.
It's not. You don't even have anything to add. I mean, it's just is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's not. I mean, it's not super great.
And thus ends part 1 of our review. Hope you enjoyed the discussion so far. We'll be back next week to wrap it up. If you have any comments, questions about anything you've heard so far, please drop me a line below and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, thanks for liking, subscribing, all that jazz. So I'll see you guys next week. Saga!